Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Art in Conversation. And hello to our today guest and NOVA member, Anita. Anita, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you for accepting to be our guest and participating in this conversation. So our today artist and NOVA member is Anita Zotkina. We are really happy to have this conversation with you. And I really appreciate that you are willing to share your artwork and your life story and your life as an artist with us. So, what we do often, we are starting with you sharing a little bit about yourself as an artist, how you started, how you became interested in art, and etc. So, please share a little bit about your background as an artist with us.
Well, my name is Anita Zotkina, and I was born and grew up in Odessa. And back then it was Soviet Union. And when I was little, actually me and my sister, we were always on our parents' way because they were students, and they gave us pencils, pen, and to keep us busy, and we were always drawing. And I remember I heard a lot of fairy tales, I saw some cartoons and interesting stories. And I always try to draw whatever I imagine based on whatever I heard and saw. In addition, I always loved animals.
Mm.
And when I was little, my grandmother was telling us that when she wanted to find us, because we were always outside, she looked for a crowd of stray dogs, and she knew that we were going to be there. So that's how I started to draw, and mostly it was animals that I
Mm.
saw either on TV or on the street. And when I was probably about 10, I went to an art school, and it was a nice school in Odessa. It's called next to Grekov училище. Basically, it's child school next to the adult school.
Okay.
And I tried to study there. I studied there only 1 year, but it wasn't as fun as I imagined artist life would be, because you need to paint vase, or you need to paint some kind of dead flower, or like fake apples and pears. And I kind of stopped going there. The only thing that I love about this is that in the summer they brought us into like practice. Practice, it was on the seashore of Black
Oh,
Sea.
okay.
What not to like about this? So you could paint sea, rocks, trees, everything you can see. So this was fun. But still, I was very interested in painting either people or animals,
Yeah.
because before each class you needed to submit bunch of like sketches, I think like 10 sketches, and all my sketches were mostly people and animals.
Mm.
And very often they took it to exhibit, and this was my favorite part of the school, and actually it taught me a lot, because now I don't start paint until I have like 10 sketches for my next painting. But when I was done with the school, I started to paint professionally probably when I was 18. And back then, Soviet Union started to collapse, and it was hard to find a job. And being an artist actually allowed you to survive, because I guess it was still a resort city. We had a lot of beaches, a lot of tourists were coming, and I made a living as an artist.
Mm.
And but when you do artist as a profession, very often you paint whatever people buy, and it's mostly landscape, still life, or maybe like still life floral. stuff like this. But I was always kind of interested to go a little bit beyond this, and I always was interested in some kind of spirituality. I didn't know what it was. I just heard stories, and they were very inspiring to me. And yeah, later I could sit and imagine something very interesting, and something would pop up, and I'd just make a sketch.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is how I started. But when I immigrated to the United States, I couldn't make a living as just an artist, because, it's not easy.
I know.
Yeah, and so I actually went and I got my degree in business administration and finance, because I have very good mathematical skills,
Okay.
and I have a full-time job, and I do art as a part-time.
Okay.
But being like this setup, I think, is perfect for me, because I do like the routine. I like to be organized, and my full-time job allows me to do this. At the same time, now I can paint whatever I want, whatever I feel.
Yeah, exactly. So
So
it's not a pressure on you to
to
like just pay
sell,
for surviving as an artist. It's just art is kind of a fun um
right for the
entertainment
art for the sake of art,
pastime.
versus, oh yeah, it's my full-time job, now I have to be an artist.
Yeah.
So um in terms of um how I work, it's probably the next question, but I'll put a little bit. I already mentioned a bunch of sketches. I make a lot of sketches. Sometimes I take a break, and sketch probably takes 30 seconds to make, because something pops into your mind and you're like, oh, I don't want to forget that. And I have like pile of sketches.
Okay.
And whenever I have time for art, I either merge a couple of sketches or like modify them a little bit. And that's how I create pictures. Actually, this particular picture, I remember uh, this is an idea of people searching for something that is out there when it's right next close to you.
Okay.
And I had to get up in the middle of the night, because I had this idea and I needed
Yeah,
to
I
draw.
know.
I'm like, I know that I'll forget it in the morning. So I
Oh,
just
I know
draw.
that things, those restless night when something pop up in your mind and you can't put it away, right? And you forget
Right,
to.
within this half an hour, but next morning it's going to be gone.
Yeah, I know. I have the same problem. I think talking to every artist, they have the same problem. Sometimes in the middle of the night, they start to think about something, and the fear of forgetting it next morning keep you up the whole night.
Right, and I already learned it. So you just better get up and record it right now,
Yeah,
because next morning, like, oh, I think I had a good idea. I don't remember what was it.
yeah, exactly. Oh goodness. See, I'm not alone. Oh goodness. Everyone has the same issue. So your work, when I saw your work for the first time, the first thing came to my mind was dream. And it came also, as you said, those fairy tale stories, which is, I love stories. And I'm teaching art and legend, symbols, alchemy and astrology, all those things. So when I saw your work, it's just kind of what I'm teaching and what I'm actually always seeking. So my question is how you choose, how this subject come to your mind. Are you reading stories or just you get in how you get inspiration in a sense, I should say?
Yeah, it's very interesting, because each painting has its own story. And I do read stories, but now, since I'm older, I read it less and less. Like, some ideas come from me being a child. And I remember reading tons of fairy tales, and I read and reread them. So sometimes I just remember the whole sentences, but something needs to click, and it could be anything. It could be nature, you walk outside, or it could be music.
Yeah.
It could be conversation with someone, and it just gets into your mind, and you're like, oh, and I don't know about other people, but I usually have always scrap paper, that is used for like printers, and on one side it's something is printed, but on another side is blank. So I have tons of those. Or like when like letter junk mail arrives, I make sure that if I have it blank on the other side, I keep it, because I sketch all the time. And I sketch, and not every sketch turned out to be a painting, but I keep most of them because later I'll go through them. I'm like, oh, what inspires me today? And I already have several things aligned for the next time, because now I'm working on one artwork, and I have several aligned. And this work on which I'm working right now is inspired by my friend. She's like
Yeah.
strong, badass woman, and she's very funny, inspirational. So I'm painting her right now. The
Mm.
next work align is spirit animals
Yeah.
for some people. Yeah, they were sharing with me, and it was very interesting. We had cards, like oracle cards, and before they drew their card, both of them told me they're spirit animals. And it was incredible. Both of them drew exactly the animals they were talking about. And I'm like, no, it can't be like coincidence. It's like, it's something more than that. So I was thinking about these animals, and because I love animals, I drew both of them, and it's in line for me to produce. Also, um, different part of your life, you think about different maybe philosophies or different ideas. I had part of my life that I was thinking about aliens a lot. I was like, I was, because you like living here, and like it's not perfect, and you think, oh, maybe there is another perfect place where it's supposed to be. Of course, where aliens are. And I back then I had my dog. She is old. She already died, but she was old dog. So I used to walk with her, and when I walked with her at night, I look at the stars, and I'm like, is there any spaceship? And at one point I remember saying, aliens, are you as stupid as humans? And then I saw like falling star, and I'm like, what it's supposed to mean? So
Yeah.
maybe someone communicates, maybe someone doesn't, but I used to love to listen about aliens. I used to like to talk to them. I
Mm.
mean, I never met any of them, but it was
Well,
like one side
yeah,
conversation.
your imagination overall,
Yes, my
you know.
imagination of different like life setting. Maybe aliens are nicer to each other, maybe not, who
Yeah.
knows? But you have this ideal world in your brain, and you like trying to think that it's somewhere, it exists somewhere, but you don't know what does ideal mean. And with the age, I'm learning more and more that ideal is here on earth. You just have to be realistic and take it as it is, and stop imagining too much.
Yeah.
You can
That's about human being, we always look further. I mean, it's what we have, we get it, and then we look for something else, and we start to dream about it, right? And
yeah,
this dream and imagination kind of shape us. It help us to move. Otherwise, we be fossilized. And
right, right.
so our dream and imagination inspire us.
Right. And if you have your idyllic world in your head, just try to live like you're living in this world.
Yeah,
Just be nice, be creative, be kind to people, and understand not everyone had the same experience as you. So you might not understand like their motives or their lives,
yeah,
and like judge less. When I was young, I was very judgmental, and with age, it just goes away. And I'm very happy about this. So,
yeah. So, I mean, therefore, all your work are based on you get inspired from someone or something around you, and then you start to make the story, right?
right. Right.
So in everything has a story in a sense, and each work itself is a fairy tale, which is has a true base or true inspiration, right? Fairy tale all the same, right?
Yes,
Some
absolutely.
artist or writer get inspiration from something they saw, and then they start to making it up and create something. So in a sense, your work are like that, like, based on you see something, you hear something, you read something, and then you start to create it.
Right, right, absolutely. And just looking at the animals, it just like their movement, their expression, their personality. And it's really inspirational just to observe them. And then you're like, oh, I think they might symbolize something. Like, for example, like white dove, it's always symbolized peace. But just look at this beautiful bird, how it walks, move, how it eats. I
Yeah,
love eating doves.
yeah.
Like, oh
So how
yeah,
you how you how you blend all this color? Like for example, I'm looking at this rock, which is the dove standing, and
yeah,
create this dream looking rock.
right. Recently, not recently, a couple years ago, I was looking for colors that I want to use, and you can either mix them yourself, or you like right now is such a huge opportunity to buy like various colors. So I found radiant colors, and I think it's radiant green, radiant yellow, radiant purple, radiant red, like any radiant colors. And it's easy to work with them. You blend them, but you don't have to, they already blended for you, and they have all these beautiful shades that you're always looking for. They're kind of like pastelish.
Yes.
Right. And then when I work, I I have a sketch, then I know that I need to have a contrast, and you decide which side is going to be where light is coming from. Okay, it's
Yeah.
going to be lighter size, and you kind of working from there. You put like your sketch probably is like neutral color on a canvas. Then you create backgrounds and you create the main theme. And I do kind of multi-layers because I like thick colors. So one layer
Like
is not,
to create the depth, right?
yes, because one layer is not enough for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I add, and at one point I need to stop adding. I need to remove it away from me, because there is no end to perfectness. I would be, if I didn't like limit myself, I would be working on one painting for the rest of
Yeah.
my life, because like,
Yeah.
I
That's the
think
true
this one
that's the
should be
true thing about
adjusted.
yeah, that's the true thing almost about every artist. When you talk, they say the same thing. They have to say, okay, this is it, and stop it and sign it and put it away.
Right, right. Because if I pull it out, I'm like, I think this piece, and then before you know it, you already have new painting on the top of the old one.
I understand. So, is this how your work change over the time? Is this the kind of the subject matter or the type of work you started from beginning, or this is something new to you, this kind of dream looking work you create?
Yeah, I think work was changing, or like type of my work was changing with like how my personality developed. Because when I was a teenager, I was like unruly, and I like rock music, like normal people back then in the 80s. I like power, I like darkness. So I was, some of my work, I'm trying to think, it was very dark. I could do like skulls and stuff like this, Black Crow, some kind of ruins. And I totally enjoyed it. But then you start to develop, you start to get older, and you're like, I don't like skulls anymore.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be next to them or paint them. And you start, like, I was starting to think about how I would like to see the world. And I would like to see it's kind and perfect. I know that nature is like, could be very cruel and whatever, but you know what? It's going on, but I don't have to express it. What I'm trying to do is just to, I don't even make an effort to do this, but I try to stay within something positive, something light,
Mhm.
something pleasant for me to look. So yeah, in the beginning it was much more darker, but you know, with the age, it's progressing to some kind of dreamy things. I had a um, time of my life when I was doing kind of longing, like you longing for something, you longing for this, you looking for your mission, for your purpose on earth. So a lot of my paintings were kind of geared towards this topic, looking for something. And
Yeah.
now I feel like I found, at least at this point in my life, I found what I was looking for, and it's here, it's all over me. I just look at the bird outside,
Yeah.
and it's already perfect. Just
Mm.
bird or a tree, flower. And I was like, wow, one little thing deserves a whole canvas.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you focus on it, if you give it enough attention, then it's a perfect little thing for you.
Yeah.
So
And you can combine all this together to
then you can
create this
combine, right?
kind of like fantasy world, which is it is exists within our reality, but at the same time has this look of fantasy. Like when I'm looking, for example, in this panda and bees, both of them are something exists around us, but the way you put them together and the setting is fantasy. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is dream looking. So, but the subject are all around us, as you said. So you find a subject which is exists with around you or within you, and then you put them into this dream or fantasy
yeah,
landscape and environment.
right. And since I like animals and panda, they're so cute. I mean, they're predators, but they're so cute that I always try to bring them. I think it's my second panda,
Yeah.
but yeah, I like to do pandas. And I remember I read a story about young man somewhere in China, I think, and he just wanted to hug a panda, and he climbed in the zoo a cage, and of course, panda killed him. He wasn't well, but the idea of hugging an animal, I know they look so cute. I mean, it's so dear to me because I would love to hug a panda, but you know, I'm an
you
adult
may
person.
be you may be
It
headless
might
after
be my last hug.
that. Oh,
But
that's
yeah, I could totally relate. I'm like, what a beautiful soul. All he wanted to do is to hug panda.
yeah. That's funny. Goodness, yeah, thinking about it. Go hug, and then after that, you're gonna be headless.
Yeah, because you know, us humans very often we get amused by animals, by little kids, like or like by fish. I remember being somewhere feeding fish, and I could watch and feed them for I don't know for a long time because I don't know to me to feed an animal or to feed some kind of being, it's the most pleasant thing right now. That's why we like to feed birds. That's why we like to feed animals in the zoo, just because just kind of you kind of could relate to them. Like, oh, I
Yeah,
eat too, and you eat too, and I can give you something tasty, and you like me. So
yeah. So I
yeah,
said that means often you combine and say, like, even when you have human figures, you have some source of animal,
yeah,
or your animal or within landscape. So that's the idea of kind of how everything connected, right? And
right,
the
right,
idea of our natures, and which is we are part of this nature, I guess. So
yeah,
your website also have you have a huge collection of I think, as you were explaining, by clicking in each of this you have a series, right? So you
yeah,
often make a series, like for example, this is like the beginning of series, and then you start to develop a story for series?
Not my series is usually by years. So this one were painted between 2018 and 2020. So back then I had one set of mine. If you go to like my later years, I had another set of mine.
Okay.
So they not related by topic, but
Okay.
they more related by, like, this is my longing period of time when I'm looking for aliens and
Okay.
I'm searching for something.
Okay. So they are not all related. They are within a time period.
Yeah,
Ah,
they are by time period, because you know what, as I said before, art for me is kind of way to express myself and um, kind of present what is inside of me.
yeah.
And I, I was thinking of starting series, but it's too demanding and too regiment for my art, because don't
Okay.
know, what if I get tired of working on one series?
Yeah.
That's
Understand.
why I don't start series. This one was an illustration for a book that was written by Derek Jensen. So he hired, I think, like 7 different artists, and we each of us did like 3 paintings per story. So this work I did for him, and it was fun project to work on. And
So are you doing book illustration currently?
sometimes I think I did one. I know that people using my images for book to illustrate their book, but those images they already created. So they contact me like, oh, can I use it? I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. But this one, he hired us to illustrate his particular stories. And you can see they are dark because the book is called Monsters.
Oh, okay. But are you
Yeah.
doing it all this by hand, or you doing it by in computer?
No, all by hand. It's all like I did sketches the same way I usually do. I did sketches with pencil or pen. Then I do, for this particular project, I did sketches with ink.
Okay.
And after Derek Jensen approved it, I took it and I painted acrylic on paper. So
Okay.
they're actually very big size paintings. And then you just take pictures, and his publisher just went through the images, changed the settings, and now they're like book illustrations.
Okay. Wow, wow, interesting. I should talk to you after this
Yeah.
book illustration. All right. So I know we just talk, and we almost uh, running out of time. And I just want to share a few of your work, which is often the same, like, setting, right? It's dream setting. And in terms of medium, you often work with oil, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why? Okay, so why you choose oil as a medium for your subject?
Yeah, I work with oil, I work with watercolor colors and acrylic,
Okay,
but my preferred medium is oil. First, because um, I
because
like
you
to
can
leave my,
layer it
yeah,
mostly.
it's create a lot of layers. It's ability to create layers, and it's also suit my personality, because the oil, you just push it out of your tube, and then you can leave it for a couple of hours. I can go make borscht
Yeah,
while
yeah, okay.
while I'm painting. I do something, then I come back, and everything is exactly the same as I left.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you can even for a day or two you can leave it. Whereas acrylic and water, it's gonna be dry.
Yes,
I
exactly.
understand you.
Yeah, that's why I call myself like, oh, take your time, artist,
Okay,
because oil you can paint, and you can paint on the top and add more. And right now, the selection of oil colors is amazing. You can find iridescent colors, you can find interference colors, and
yeah,
they like gold and silver, whatever you want. and
Yeah.
you can just add it to your artwork, which make it sparkly. And I love
Yeah. Without
sparkle.
even mixing it. I understand. You're right.
Yeah, you
That's,
don't have to create one spark, one each spark, like
yeah.
paint each spark. You can just add your golden color, and it's going to be just beautiful. You can do the same with acrylic, but with acrylic you need to be dedicated, because when I did my acrylic work, yes, start and you can't go make tea because your paint will dry. So you
Yeah.
have to dedicate certain period of time, and that's why I like oil. You like feel, let me go, let me take a walk, let me go
Yeah.
see the
Understand.
nature, and come back. Okay, I'm ready to continue.
Yeah. And then also you can create layer and layer, over.
Right, right. Here's my other panda.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
same
That's a
thing.
second pant, a beautiful word. And indeed it's very beautiful. I mean, you see, it's this beautiful panda, which is, as you said, it may be your last time laying next to it, but
Right.
still, like, we can use our imagination. There is nothing wrong with that, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Doesn't have to be real. You
Yeah,
can live
yeah.
within the fantasy. That's what we all did. Or
Mm,
with this dinosaur, that's the same thing true, right? We don't
right.
have to um, go and play with this dinosaur, but we can play it in our imagination, in our dream.
Yeah, because I was thinking, what do I like the most? I like walking. I like walking and looking at nature. And what is a cool thing to have? And I was thinking, dinosaur would be cool to have. And like, what if you can walk for your birthday with a dinosaur? And that's why I put like a little
Yeah, it's
ribbon on his neck, because I'm like, oh, if I had whatever I wanted for the birthday, I would go for a walk with my birthday dinosaur.
yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, your work are not only interesting for adult, but also, I'm sure kids also attracted to your artwork because of this dream looking, because of this fantasy,
Yeah, or
this kind
adults,
of childish setting you create,
yeah, but adults like it because, we grow up, we think, when you're young, you're like, oh, I want to grow up, I want to do everything myself. But when you're an adult, like, actually, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, when you
You
grow up,
kind of want to,
you want the child, that
yeah, you want to
because
go back and visit,
yeah,
so I get a lot of feedback from adults. I'm like, oh, it reminds me of something,
yeah, I
it's
know.
reminding of this. And yeah, stuff don't have to be real, but you can imagine that they're real. Like, I
Exactly.
like Sasquatch's stories. I never saw one. So
Yeah,
yeah, I just imagine how, if he existed, what would he do? I mean, what would his interest be, and
yeah.
how he would look?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, we have a child within us, no matter how old we get. We may, in terms of appearance and physically grow, but still our mind like that childish of us. So that's why we keep in it. And when we look at this, like, your work, as a child, you see it differently. As an adult, you see it differently, of course. You understand the meaning, but you like the setting of it, because
Yeah,
that part of you, which is still, that's your child part of you, want
yeah,
to
you don't want to
think
let it go, and this way you can keep it. When you
yeah,
look at something, like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember when I was thinking or dreaming about that. So yeah,
yeah. So very interesting. And this is part of that illustration which you
right, right,
mentioned from
yeah.
the book.
And
And
this is my watercolors,
okay,
because I used metallic watercolors. They give you like special glow,
okay,
and I like spark and glow, and I don't know, bright colors. That's why I try to use the most bright medium I can.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
And
I understand. I mean,
this one, yeah, this one, with the dinosaur, because everyone's saying, before was better, right? And I think how before we should go. Maybe when dinosaurs were alive, it was better. But like good old times, people have this expression, how old the time should be to be totally good. And I'm like, oh, maybe when dinosaurs were alive. So,
Yeah.
and of course I put my spaceship there because back then I was into
Into alien.
spaceship. Yeah, yeah. I do landscapes as well. This, for example, is oil on canvas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is more look representational in realist
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
your dream looking work. I mean, our time almost over. We don't. I mean, your work are so fascinating and interesting that you get lost within this dream of you and dream work of you. So I really appreciate it and really enjoy your work and enjoy your dream and fantasy world of you. And I really encourage everyone to check your website. You have beautiful selection of work, and I'm sure you have a way to be reach out. I mean, there is a contact information in Anita's website if everybody like to reach out and learn more or inspire or order or illustrate a book, which is your artwork or like a storytelling by itself without even giving you a story.
Yeah.
So, Anita, as to conclude our work, do you have any last word? Do you have any suggestion, any comment for our art lover
Yeah.
or artist?
I just would like to tell people that be kind to yourself, be kind to others, follow your heart. Don't be hard on yourself. Just know that we are human on this earth. We don't know why we were born. And just try to be gentle and just try to enjoy life.
Yeah,
And
take it easy, right?
take it easy. And if art is part of your existence, just keep creating. You know what? You create it for yourself. And then, other people who look at your art can really relate to you. Because I get a lot of messages, people like, oh, I can't afford to buy, but I really like it. And, it's very pleasant to hear.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Yes, it is, Anita. Thank you very much. I really enjoy this conversation, and also I enjoy your artwork. They are
Thank you
beautiful.
very much, Farrin.
And
And
keep
you're
this
very,
world of fantasy and dream going.
yeah, thank you very much for
Thank you.
inviting me. And I had a great time. And thank you for asking all these questions. And I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, enjoy your trip, upcoming trip.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Anita. Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.